Today we're exploring the career of a Japanese thoroughbred born in 2009 at Northern Farm, a horse whose pedigree was so highly regarded that her connections named her Gentildonna.
Which, if you translate it directly from Italian, means noble lady.
Right.
And when you hear that name, you immediately picture elegance, right? You picture absolute refinement. A horse that glides over the turf without kicking up a single blade of grass.
But the reality of her legacy is entirely at odds with that label. Her dominance and sheer physical aggression on the track were just so overwhelming that Japanese racing fans basically discarded her given name.
They stopped referring to her as a mare entirely, right?
Exactly. They gave her a nickname born out of just absolute awe. They called her the Gorilla.
The Gorilla. Okay, so let's unpack this. Our mission today is to explore that exact dichotomy. We're tracing the biography of one of the most remarkable athletes in racing history to understand how a horse bred for pure elegance essentially became a heavyweight prize fighter.
And completely obliterated the boundaries between the male and female divisions in the process.
Exactly. So let's start with the immense pressure of her origin, because earning a prize fighter's reputation when you have literal royal blood, it's not a simple path.
No. It's not. To understand the weight of that bloodline, we really have to look at the genetics she carried. So Gentildonna was trained by Sei Ishizaka, a man who already knew how to harness explosive speed. I mean, he trained the brilliant sprinter Aston Marchand.
Right, a proven trainer.
Yeah, but the real scrutiny came from her sire. She was the daughter of Donna Bellini, who was a British juvenile Group 1 winner. And this is the big one, the legendary Deep Impact.
And as anyone who follows Japanese racing knows, Deep Impact is absolute royalty, like untouchable.
Oh, definitely. But the timing here is crucial. Gentildonna was born into a second crop of foals. So the jury was actually still out on whether his progeny could, conquer the entire sport.
Which is funny to think about now.
Right. But the racing community is inherently skeptical. Deep Impact's first crop had shown blistering speed, but the specific doubt hanging over his offspring was about their biological limits.
People assumed they were just milers, right?
Exactly. Analysts looked at them and thought, okay, they had the fast twitch muscle fibers for a brilliant mile, but there was a widespread assumption that they lacked the aerobic capacity and the stamina to handle the grueling classic distances.
Like the races that stretch out to 2,400 meters.
Yeah, they wanted undeniable proof. And early on, Gentildonna didn't exactly look like the horse who was going to provide it.
No, she didn't. Her debut ended in a second-place defeat.
But she figured it out quickly enough. She broke her maiden, getting that crucial first career win out of the way, and then just started outclassing weaker fields.
She even beat male horses in the Shinzan Kinen, which really announced her as a top-tier talent. Yeah. But then the physical setbacks hit.
Yeah, she caught a fever right before the Tulip Show. And in equine athletics, a fever doesn't just make a horse tired. It completely derails their highly calibrated conditioning cycle.
Because everything is timed to the exact day.
Exactly. So because of that disrupted preparation, she finished fourth.
And that one setback completely shifted the public's perception. When it was time for the Okacha, which is the first jewel of the Triple Tiara, she wasn't even the betting favorite.
The public just assumed another filly would seize the moment.
But instead, Gentildonna took absolute control of the race and won it. Which is amazing, but securing the first jewel is one thing. The race that would truly define her and actually answer the stamina questions about her sire was the Japanese Oaks.
The Japanese Oaks the jump in distance is massive. It is the ultimate test of a young filly's endurance.
And the deck was stacked against her in almost every conceivable way for this race.
Oh, totally.
First, her regular jockey, Yasunari Iwata, gets suspended right before the race, so the stable has to scramble and put a rising star, Yuga Kawada, in the saddle.
And changing a jockey isn't just about a new set of hands on the reins. It completely changes the weight distribution, the rhythm, basically the entire nonverbal communication between rider and horse.
Right. And on top of that, she had never set foot on the Tokyo racecourse before. And Tokyo is notorious for its incredibly long, punishing home straight, plus that uphill climb right before the finish line.
It's a brutal track if you aren't prepared for it.
It really is.
And because of all that chaotic variance, she goes off as only the third favorite.
But then the race starts.
Yeah, and this is where we see the very first glimpse of her terrifying physical capability. They settled near the back of the field to conserve energy.
Just biding their time.
Exactly. And when Kawada finally asked her to move, she didn't just accelerate. She unleashed a devastating, explosive stretch run that defied everything the critics said about her bloodline stamina.
She just swept past the entire field.
And won by 5 lengths. It was an absolute flattening of the competition.
I mean, that 5-length margin silenced every single doubt about Deep Impact's progeny. No one ever questioned their ability to dominate classic distances again.
Never again.
But dominating a race is just athletics, right? Becoming a legend requires a story, and every great story needs a foil. You need a rival who pushes you to the brink.
Which brings us to a spectacularly talented and honestly profoundly unlucky filly named Verxina.
Verxina.
Yeah. She was the horse Gentildonna defeated in the Oka show, and the same horse she had just left 5 lengths behind in the Oaks.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on the concept of this being a rivalry, though.
Okay, why?
Because a rivalry usually implies, a back-and-forth exchange of blows. If Gentildonna is winning every single time, isn't it just a one-sided reign of terror?
I mean, I get that. It looks one-sided on paper. But you have to consider the sheer physical and mental toll of what Verxina was doing. In racing, maintaining peak condition for an entire season is nearly impossible. Most horses naturally regress.
Right, they peak and then they drop off.
But Verxina simply refused to regress. She stalked Gentildonna all year. In the autumn campaign, they met in the Rose Stakes, and Gentildonna won again.
Setting the stage for the Shuka show.
Exactly, the final leg of the Triple Tiara.
So Gentildonna is standing on the threshold of immortality, win this, and she takes the Triple Tiara. And Verxina just decides to make it the hardest fight of her life.
It was incredible. The Shuka show was not a 5 lengths blowout. It was a brutal, stride-for-stride stretch duel. Neither filly gave an inch.
It's a test of pure heart all the way to the wire.
And at the finish line, Gentildonna takes it, but only by a nose.
A nose? I mean, that margin, literally a matter of inches, dictated history. Gentildonna becomes only the 4th Triple Tiara winner in Japanese history.
And Verxina, on the other hand, suffers a uniquely tragic fate. She enters the record books as the only filly in history to finish second in all 3 Triple Tiara races to the exact same horse.
It's honestly heartbreaking for Verxina, but it established Gentildonna as an undisputed queen, and normally when a filly achieves the Triple Tiara, her connections rest her.
Yeah, they celebrate the conquest of the female division and plan for the next year.
But Gentildonna's team looked at the landscape, realized she had entirely cleared out her division, and decided to pick a fight with the boys.
And they didn't just target a standard race against males, they aimed for the absolute summit of Japanese racing, the Japan Cup.
The Japan Cup matchup that year was pure cinematic gold. You have Gentildonna, the newly crowned Triple Tiara winner, lining up against Orfevel, the reigning male Triple Crown champion.
It was the first time in history a male and female Triple Crown winner faced off. The anticipation was it was unimaginable.
Right, because it forced the racing world to confront a biological question. Does a dominant 3-year-old filly have the sheer physical mass, the raw torque, to compete with a dominant colt who is at the absolute peak of his power?
And the race provided an answer that people are honestly still arguing about today.
Seriously, it does. Coming down the final stretch, Gentildonna is in deep trouble. She is completely boxed in on the rail.
She has the front runner, Beat Black, directly in her path, and the massive Orfev is closing on her outside, squeezing the gap shut.
So what does a jockey usually do in that situation?
Well, in that specific scenario, physics and instinct usually take over. When a 1,000-pound animal gets trapped on the rail by an even larger animal, the jockey's instinct is to check back. To pull the horse out of the trap, lose all forward momentum, shift to the outside, and try to reaccelerate.
Because if you don't, you risk a catastrophic collision. But once a horse loses that momentum, getting it back is nearly impossible. You are essentially conceding the race.
Precisely. You yield to the larger force. But Gentildonna did not yield.
This is the moment that blew my mind. Instead of waiting for an opening or checking back, it's like a finesse tennis player suddenly throwing hockey checks. She drops her shoulder and physically slams into Orfevel.
She shoved a male Triple Crown winner off his line, forced her own gap, and charged through to win the Japan Cup.
It's unreal, and the fallout was monumental.
Oh, massive. She became the first fillies Triple Crown winner to ever win a mixed-sex Group 1 race against males. But the victory was wrapped in intense controversy.
Because of the bump.
Right. Was that bump a dangerous foul that should have resulted in a disqualification? Or was it just the gritty, ruthless reality of championship racing? The stewards let the results stand, but the debate raged on.
But foul or not, the message was delivered. That violent, physical shove against a male champion is the exact moment the gorilla moniker became permanent.
She wasn't just fast anymore. She was intimidating.
Yeah, she was named Horse of the Year at age 3, and from that point forward, she effectively abandoned female-only races. She'd forcefully inserted herself into the heavyweight division.
But, moving permanently into the heavyweight ranks brings a new harsh reality. Eventually, when your primary tactic is muscling your way to the front, you run into opponents who are big enough to hit back.
And her older campaigns were an absolute gauntlet. Like, she travels to Dubai and finishes second in the Shima Classic.
Right.
Then she returns to Japan and takes on the Takarazuka Kinen, where she faces a horse named Gold Ship. And if you know Gold Ship, you know he is famously massive, quirky, and incredibly powerful.
He's a tank.
So Gentildonna tries to assert her dominance, right? Trying to muscle him the way she muscled Orfevel. But Gold Ship simply absorbs the contact, brushes her aside, and she takes a brutal defeat.
He was a stark reminder of the laws of physics.
Right.
And it didn't end there. In the Tennosho Autumn, she runs into Just Away,
who was having a crazy year.
He was putting together a campaign that would actually make him the #1 ranked horse in the world. He produces a historically dominant run, blowing the field away by 4 lengths, and Gentildonna is left running second.
When you are used to being the physical bully and you suddenly meet opponents who are stronger or just flat out faster on a given Sunday, it completely shatters your paradigm. A lot of frontrunners fold when their intimidation tactics start working.
And we connect this to the bigger picture. This brings us to the core psychology of a true champion. Greatness isn't defined by an undefeated record. It is defined by adaptation.
Like, how do you win when your primary weapon is neutralized?
Exactly. And her adaptation came through an international partnership. Later that year, they bring in the brilliant British jockey Ryan Moore to replace Iwata.
And what happens? They go back to the Japan Cup, and she wins it again. She becomes the first horse in history to win the Japan Cup in consecutive years.
And then, at age 5, she travels back to Dubai and finally captures the Shima Classic,
securing her 6th Group 1 victory and cementing her legacy on a global stage.
She proved she could evolve. But, time is the ultimate undefeated rival. As her 5-year-old season wore on, the physical toll of running in the heavyweight division began to show. The armor started to crack.
Yeah, it was a difficult stretch to watch.
She was 6th in the Kyoto Kinen. She had another shocking defeat in the Takarazuka Kinen, running 9th. And then a 2nd in the Tennosho before she attempts an unprecedented 3rd Japan Cup and just gets completely overwhelmed by Epiphania.
Finishing 4th.
Exactly.
The magic seemed to be running out.
And in the bloodstock industry, when a mare of her legendary status starts stringing together losses, the standard operating procedure is immediate retirement. You want to preserve her value as a brood mare and protect the aura of her legacy.
You don't want to see a champion fading. But her connections didn't want to fade out quietly. They decided on one last ride. And they chose the absolute hardest possible venue, the Arima Kinen.
The Arima Kinen is a year-end all-star race held at Nakayama Racecourse. And Nakayama is a completely different biomechanical challenge compared to Tokyo.
How so?
Well, it has tighter turns, a notoriously short final straight, and it requires a completely different tactical approach. And Gentildonna had never raced there in her entire life.
I mean, I want you to put yourself in that starting gate for a second. You are a 5-year-old mare at the end of a grueling career. You're facing 16 runners, 10 of which are Group 1 winners.
One of the strongest Grand Prix lineups ever.
Exactly. And the betting public has lost faith. You are 4th choice in the betting. So do you play it safe, hope to run a respectable 3rd and ride off into the sunset, or do you go out swinging?
Well, safe was never in her vocabulary. She utilized incredibly aggressive early tactics. At a track where horses usually try to save ground for a late burst, she pushed forward early.
She established her position.
And essentially dared the younger, stronger male horses to come and take it from her.
And they tried. One by one, the elite male stars moved up to challenge her on the tight Nakayama turns. And one by one, she fought them off, holding her ground all the way to the wire to capture her 7th Group 1 title.
It was a masterclass in sheer willpower.
It was the perfect swansong, earning her yet another Horse of the Year award. And her final statistics are just staggering. 19 starts, 10 wins.
Over 1.72 billion yen in career earnings, which made her the 2nd highest earner in Japanese racing history at the time.
She was rightfully inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2016. She retired to Northern Farm and actually passed her brilliance on as a broodmare, with her daughter Geraldina winning the Queen Elizabeth II Cup.
She was retired from broodmare duties in 2025, but she passed away suddenly later that year at the age of 16.
Which really shocked the fan base.
Deeply. Because her entire identity was built around this unyielding physical dominance, fans honestly viewed her as indestructible. She had the refined, elite genetics of Deep Impact, but she weaponized that elegance.
She refused to accept the physical limitations of her gender.
Right. And she didn't just beat the boys. She created an entirely new archetype in the sport. The source mentions that modern Japanese fans still use the nickname Gorilla Woman as a badge of honor for any mare that defeats elite males over middle distances.
Which is an archetype she solely created.
Absolutely. Every tough filly is chasing the shadow of Gentildonna.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.